Hey everybody, welcome to the Magic Weekly News Update for March 11th, 2018 on the Mana Leek. I'm John as always. There wasn't an update last week because not much really happened, but this week, oh boy, I guess only one thing super newsworthy happened, but it was a thing. The release notes for Domon Aria were briefly published about 5 weeks early on the Chinese Magic homepage in Chinese. The release notes, for those who aren't aware, is a document that's released along with the full list of cards the week before pre-release. It includes all the information about the set's mechanics, themes, returning cards, cycles, etc., and all of the cards that have any sort of rules, notes, or clarifications to go along with them. That means that we learned almost everything there is to know about 142 of the 269 cards in the set. The cards that haven't been revealed are likely very simple, as they apparently didn't require any clarifications or reminders in the release notes. That means vanilla tutus, things like that. Things that, very simply tap to make a mana or something like that. Wizards quickly confirmed that the document was real and was accidentally released, and they decided the best thing to do was to simply release the notes officially in all languages. In previous leaks where Wizards didn't confirm, we saw a ton of misinformation and speculation that caused a lot of problems and annoying little quirks. When Oath of the Gatewatch was released, people were still approaching colorless mana with incorrect information, thinking that it worked the way they heard some random person speculate about it back when it was actually leaked. This is pretty deflating, though I think Wizards' response to the situation was great, and reactions have generally been quite excited about what they've seen so far. I personally love spoiler season. I like the slow drip of information, and I really like seeing what content creators do with their own exclusive spoilers. I won't be diving into the cards in this video, so don't worry about spoilers if you're avoiding them, but what I do want to cover are the various changes that are coming with Domon Aria, as well as the new mechanics, since the mechanics article is set to be released tomorrow anyways, which is also ahead of schedule by at least a few weeks. I will say, first off, I don't buy into the suggestion that this was in any way intentional. It's way too conspiracy theory, InfoWarsy to suggest that because people were whining about Masters 25 that they leaked this. That's just no. Anyways, on to the changes. The big rules change that is happening is that damage will no longer be able to be redirected to planeswalkers. Currently, if you're wanting to deal non-combat damage to a planeswalker, you want to lightning bolt it, you actually have to deal the damage to the player and then choose to redirect it. This can be clunky, confusing, and oftentimes people just shortcut it anyways and say, I lightning bolt your Chandra, despite that actually not being a legal play. Starting with Domon Aria, you will not be able to redirect damage to planeswalkers anymore. Instead, any previously printed card that dealt damage to, quote, target creature or player now says any target, meaning you can target a player, a creature, or a planeswalker directly. Cards that said target player now say target player or planeswalker. Cards that said target opponent now say target opponent or planeswalker. The only exception to these changes are if the card specifically cares about the life total of the player. Deal damage equal to 1/3 of the life of the opponent's life total, something like that. And those are quite rare. That sounds confusing, but it's really simple. If the card is from before Domon Aria and it could deal damage to a player, with a minute number of exceptions, as I just mentioned, it can now deal it to a planeswalker in addition. If it's from Domon Aria or later, do what the card says. Simple. In addition to that change, there's a number of non-functional changes starting with Domon Aria. Firstly, the phrase mana pool has been removed from card text. So a mana dork that used to say tap, add green to your mana pool now says tap, add green. This is more in line with the way the lands are displayed these days, with just that big mana symbol instead of the actual rules text. This also gives back some rules text space for more complicated cards that produce mana, as they now have a couple of less words to print. Magic will now use the word they instead of he or she. This change, I want to say to my surprise, but let's be honest, it's not really surprising, has been heralded as yet another thing that's totally going to kill Magic by a certain segment of the community. That's absolutely pathetic, and if you think that, I'm super excited to see you sell your collection and get the hell out of the community. This saves card space, it's in line with a recent update to the Chicago Writing Style Guide, which WotC uses for their products, and it's more inclusive. There's literally zero downside unless you're a pathetic sociopathic loser. Moving on, legendary permanents other than planeswalkers will now have a modified card frame with additional flourishes on the title bar. This is exactly what I suggested when they didn't reveal the card from the upcoming duel deck, and I'm excited to see what it looks like. Finally, a bar will now appear between the rules text and flavor text of a card to better differentiate where one ends and the other starts. Similar to what we saw with Portal, though much less subtle and less ugly. A card has been revealed to show this off, which you can see here. So finally, we'll go over the new mechanics in Domon Aria. As I said, the mechanics article goes up tomorrow. If you want to absolutely wait until that, then you might want to check out the video now, because we are going to go over the new mechanics. Up first, we have Saga cards. These are enchantments with the subtype Saga, and they represent important historical events in Domon Aria's past. When they enter the battlefield, and after every draw step, a lore counter is put on the card, and the effect equal to the number of lore counters happen. When the third lore counter goes on the card, you sacrifice it. For example, History of Benalia is a 1 white-white enchantment Saga, and when the first and second lore counters are put on it, you create a 2/2 white knight token with vigilance. So when you play it, you get a 2/2. The next turn, at the start of your main combat phase, or your main phase, you get another 2/2 knight, and then when the third counter is put on it, all knights you control get +2/+1 until end of turn, and you sacrifice it. This is a really cool mechanic, and getting to see the various events represented in triggered abilities is really, really cool. The next new mechanic is legendary sorceries. There will now be sorceries with the legendary supertype, and it's probably not what you would expect it means. It doesn't mean that you can only cast one per game. It doesn't mean that you can only have one in your deck. What it means is that you can only cast it if you have a legendary creature or planeswalker in play. Kind of weird, and we'll have to see how these play out, but I feel like outside of a dedicated Legends Matters format like Domon Aria, these won't have much broader play, so we'll have to see how they work out. Kicker is a returning mechanic, which is just a solidly designed mechanic to up a card's utility. You can cast the card for its regular cost, or you can tack on some extra cost to get an extra effect. Very nice to see Kicker back. Finally, there's a new term to remember: historic. Historic cards are any legendary cards, artifact cards, or saga cards. It doesn't change what the card does, but some other cards will care about if you have a historic card in play or if you are casting a historic spell. I will say it feels a little bit unflavorful that something really simple like a Pirate's Cutlass is now a historic Pirate's Cutlass, but sure, whatever. It opens up design space without technically changing any other old cards, so I'm fine with historic. Anyways, that's the new mechanics. That's all the information about Domon Aria that we're going to share so far. Spoiler season's going to happen a little bit interestingly. They've said that there's still some really big surprises and big things they're excited to reveal. I'm, of course, very excited to see the art. The flavor text hasn't been revealed on any cards or anything like that, so there is still a lot to see in the Domon Aria spoiler season. So let me know what you think of the leak. Let me know what you think of the new mechanics. Let me know what you think of whatever in the comments down below. As always, if you have any questions, comments, or suggestions, you can find me on Twitter at @TheManaLeek. That's L-E-E-K, like the vegetable, not the card. You can also find me at Facebook.com/TheManaLeek, Twitch.tv/TheManaLeek, and Patreon.com/TheManaLeek. If you like the content, click that thumbs up button. Click subscribe if you want to see more. And if you do have questions, comments, or suggestions, let me know. Otherwise, see you all next time.